on the brighter side as far as building and hopefully building towards a better future. Look, 3 days ago, Amazon announced that they are launching their first satellite prototypes. They're currently it's a project called Cooper, I think.
Yeah.
Kuiper, for those that want to search it. And they want to build a network of 3,200 satellites. They're essentially trying to get into the game of offering space internet. And there's probably some other things too. It's probably not just that. If I think about long term, they're getting into the game of that. But to give you guys some relativity, I just want to let you guys know that they are they're starting to launch about 3,200 satellites. And Starlink, as of right now, has 5,000 current satellites in orbit, and their goal is to do 42,000, and which will basically give the entire world accessibility via Starlinks. So it's no surprise there. But what do you guys think about that move by Amazon and like where maybe even internet and space is going? Because it seems like there's some connections there.
I'm surprised they haven't launched something like this a while ago, but perhaps I can assume like probably what some of the reasons why they haven't. And I'm only thinking about this in this regard because I used to work for an internet service provider a long time ago. So I'm pretty abreast on like how this space has evolved over time. And there's been Facebook, for example, has had projects that they've killed off to try to provide open access to internet. Google did the same thing. I think Google's was like Project Loom or something like that. Like they had a project where they were trying to give open internet.
I remember that
to the developing world, and Facebook was trying to do the same thing. So this idea of trying to give open and available access to internet has been like on the minds of a lot of big companies for a while.
Yeah.
Primarily because they are trying to figure out how to get their product to these people. Like Facebook's trying to figure out how do we get more people to use Facebook?
Of course.
If they have the internet, they can use Facebook, right?
Yeah. They don't have the internet. If they can't access our products, then
right. So like it was always from that perspective. But I think what SpaceX did with Starlink seems was a forcing function for other folks in the space. Amazon, I'm sure there's other people too that are doing it. I'm sure it's not just those providers that will be doing it. But I think generally it makes sense. I think first of all, to give everybody here on Earth like access to internet. But I think beyond that, it is going to help accelerate the things that are going to be happening in space. And I think that's where it's really interesting, because if you're going to be in space, you need internet, right? So you need really strong. You need really strong internet at that. Like, you don't want no dead zones in space.
You don't want me to disconnect it.
You don't want that shit to drop off and trying to reconnect and reboot in space. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm excited to see, just like any new technology and any new infrastructure, right? Like developers, entrepreneurs, they see it and they start building. It enables a new level of building, right? Like the iPhone enabled us to do things that we couldn't do with just the computer, the desktop computer, right? So now there's the question, okay, what does it look like if you have space internet, right? If everybody in any corner of the earth had access to internet, what does that actually look like? Then what does it look like if you get super fast internet while you're in space, while you're traveling up to space, while you're flying? So I think there's a lot of directions that can go into. So I'm super excited to see like what innovations come from it. And obviously with AWS being one of the largest cloud providers, I think they're going to really force builders to build. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Brylan, I have a specific question for you.
Yeah.
Should the cell phone providers be worried? Because right now, I'll give you like what it seems to me is that there's all different network coverages, and they all own different amounts of networks or whatever across the nation. And for their primary thing is you're paying for the phone. You know what I'm saying? Because the phone is very expensive for the iPhone. Is like damn near $2,000, right?
Yeah.
So most people they're not just coming out the gate buying the new phone straight up. But just in general, though, do you think the cell phone cellular networks should be concerned, and also ISPs, because it almost seems like if they don't do some of these things that Amazon and Starlink, like what do they do?
Yeah, I think Brylan dropped off for a little bit. He might hop back on, but yeah, I'll open it up. I actually don't think they should necessarily be concerned, only because
Okay.
they're at the core of a lot of the shit that's taking place. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get their money. You know what I'm saying? Whether you technically have Verizon service or not, or AT&T service or not, a lot of the times the information that gets transmitted in order to even give you access to internet, or even in order to even translate information, a lot of times goes through the infrastructure that a lot of these big telecommunication companies own. Right?
It does.
So
it does.
So it's. I think in order for them to really be concerned, we would have to really redo communications from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, internet itself is still a physical thing, even if it's wireless, right? And those cables, those fiber optic cables, the information and physical internet travels through. That
will always be necessary. That will always be necessary. That will always be necessary.
It's always necessary, and those are owned by the big, large telecommunication companies.
I get maybe more of my question is. Maybe more of my question is like what Amazon doing the equivalent of how ChatGPT takes away some people looking for answers on Google in some ways. And
so does it maybe not? So you're saying, does it take away a use case from like another product?
More so, like, I know that the infrastructure has to exist and it will exist for sure. But as far as like the current way that they're doing their business, because you and I noticed this, right? And this was interesting. How there's all these different cell networks now. There's the major ones, the top 5 ones: AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, etc. But even T-Mobile came with Sprint. I'm noticing that you can, for example, like I was looking at plans, and you can buy unlimited plans for $20, $30 a month that are backed by these same networks. And so that, I don't know what to take from that. Other than I don't know what to take from that, because in my mind I'm like, so for example, I went to a plaza the other day, and there was some company by Verizon. It wasn't a Verizon authorized seller; it was just a provider by Verizon. And so I was thinking in my mind, I have Verizon, and I'm paying $100 and something a month for. I buy my phone outright, but then there's this plan that's saying they're backed by Verizon. Is there something I'm missing that's $20 and it's saying it's $20 a month? Why should I be loyal to Verizon then? If I can get the $20 a month version, unless there's something that I'm potentially missing. You know what I'm saying? So basically what I'm saying is that in regards to our devices, maybe more, will they have to address those changes, or will there be challenges in the future about how they make money? Because I believe the infrastructure, you can't get rid of. Like, those are physical infrastructures, and they're going to be needed, but will they have to repurpose it to make money or something like that?
Right now, they make money. I would say any internet service provider makes money through data, right? They're an infrastructure and they're a data transfer business. That is the business model. And so whatever the end point is can always change. Like, people are not subscribing to cable as much, for example, right? So the business model behind monetizing that specific data set is probably dying. But on the flip side of that, people are accessing streaming, right? So the business model in terms of streaming data is up now. So I think the business still stays the same for a lot of these big companies. But you're right, though. I do think the business model might shift, but it's still a data business, just how the data gets transferred. And the other thing I'll say, too, is we talked about this before about Microsoft and how Microsoft was successfully sued by the government for antitrust. The same thing actually happened to AT&T, by the way. So, like, these telecommunication companies are massive and monopolistic, right? Like, they're 100%. That big. And so
only a few players.
I don't think there's like any immediate threat.
Not immediate.
But hell, who knows what Elon is doing with SpaceX? He might
not really immediate. Definitely not immediate. There's no way there's an immediate threat. There's absolutely. I agree with you on that. There's no way there's an immediate threat. But I wonder, like 5-10 years.
On that point, though,
you can get a gig a second off of.
Hold on. Go ahead, Brylan.
No, what I was going to say is, like, on that point though, around what is Elon doing, I found this very interesting. So what SpaceX did was they formed a partnership. Well, one of the first partnerships with T-Mobile.
Smart.
And then,
I see what they're doing.
And so they're already starting to, it looks like they're starting to look at doing that with a few other providers as well. AT&T is trying to block it, it looks like, but
they have to partner, bro. This shit is expensive. The physical infrastructure to rebuild it is just, it's astronomical.
Brylan, can I ask you a question?
What's cracking?
Again, an interesting question. Out of all the carriers, and also keep in mind, I'm thinking about brand too and stuff like that. Like, in my mind, I think Delta, and I think Verizon. You know what I'm saying? But that's obviously not the case, for example, in real life. Now, you add this information when you're saying Starlink, you know what I'm saying, did a partnership with T-Mobile, that kind of changes why that might have happened and gave me a little bit of maybe a slight closure on that loop. Because I was wondering why T-Mobile, out of all the things that I feel like Delta could have partnered with anybody. But if T-Mobile partnered with Starlink, and Starlink it has a network right now of 5,000 suborbit satellites, then when you're in a flight, you right next to them. You right next to the internet.
Yeah. Now, so this is the interesting thing I think people don't usually talk about when it comes to space is that like today's innovations and breakthroughs primarily have been driven by technology, but the impact technology has had on costs. And so if you think about like back in the day, they spent billions of dollars to build satellites. And at the same time, they had to be able to obviously get the biggest bang for their buck. So that's in terms of coverage. And so this is important just because that pushed them into the deep parts of space, where when SpaceX came around and changed the economics of space, because now what it used to cost to fly to space is now cut in 10 to 100x, because the fact that you can reuse certain components, that changed shit. And so what that changed was specifically the willingness for folks to be able to say, okay, we may not have the best satellite technology because we're not investing all that crazy money, but we can actually get more of these at a cheaper price into space. And so now, instead of it being about how wide one can be, it's about how connected they are. Like, so do you see the strategy that, I see, it literally, so it went from a single standalone kind of product to the product became the network. That's like that shift in thinking is so important when it comes to space, because that's what's enabling the Starlinks, the Amazons, like you and other players who are going to continue to pop up. That's small change. Lie.
You basically, in so many words, said everybody in the world is technically going to be connected.
Oh,
like everybody in the world.
Yes,
but like it's like telepath, damn near. Especially when you think about
you're gonna need that
new stuff.
You're gonna need that with Neuralink. Shit, you your shit get to the planet, bro. When you think about where we're going with self-driving cars, think about where we're going with self-operating robots like the humanoids that we've talked about before. Think about where we're going with brain chips, like I just said, with Neuralink. Like we're gonna need more high-speed bandwidth internet, and we're gonna need that shit on demand everywhere, broad coverage, backup, like all of that shit.
Reliability.
You're not gonna want to be in a self-driving car going 70 miles down the highway and your shit just get disconnected.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, no, it's funny. No, it's funny. No, it's funny. When I was on the Starlink site, so they have multiple different options, right? And mind you, literally, I was just telling y'all I couldn't buy one. Maybe like 8 months. Like it wasn't that long ago I couldn't buy one. So they just put them out on the low because I didn't see it. But they have this one option, and it's the ultra performance option. You can add Wi-Fi to any car, and it's built for all conditions and whatever. And all of America has coverage. And I'm like, and the speeds are up to, I think they're like top speed, like almost damn near business level speeds. And I'm like,
wait, so it's the satellite? It's a satellite you add to the.
You got to see it. It's a panel. It's like a panel. Look, you know how Solar City has those panels?
Yeah,
it's like a panel. So it's like a panel. Yeah, it's like a panel.
Wow.
So if your car didn't have, Wi-Fi, mind you, my girlfriend Ryan told me that some cars do come with Wi-Fi now, which I did not know. But yeah, I know it is wild. Like we come a long way. But like to be able to augment a car and put that level of, because you can have a Wi-Fi cellular network, but we know those hotspots. If they was really strong and reliable, everybody would still have one. But they're talking about high performance under all conditions, and you can install it on top of your car or wherever, and you could just and again, also there's the Starlink Roam where you can have it where if you it's for nomads, they say, wherever you want. If you want to go here, go here. And it's just, that's unbelievable. I'm not going to lie to you. So if Amazon is trying to do anything like that, I'm looking forward to that too. But like y'all said, this has become a very intriguing conversation based on everything y'all said.
Let's make it a little bit more intriguing, because hold up. This is wild that what I just noticed what you were speaking of, because I wasn't even thinking of the fucking car. is, bro, we just got abundant connectivity.
Yes.
That is wild. Abundant connectivity.
Yes. Everybody don't know. Everybody doesn't.
But let's add this to the equation. We've already talked about like the abundance of like intelligence. So you got abundance of connectivity, abundance of intelligence. There's an abundance of energy coming just in terms of like fusion.
Yeah.
What does the world look like when all that abundance is there?
I'm telling you, I've often thought, and I'm going to sound crazy, I think to some people, or probably to most people, I think we're going to be extremely abundant as far as even with finance, even with money. I think I don't know how I do, and also I believe it will be within our lifetimes. I just don't know. I think it will be within our lifetimes because what I've noticed is that it's typically the fact that we have a lot of distractions in the world, and also we haven't used all the talent in our world. And for example, just being able to increase access of certain, like for me, right? I'm a product of Google and PayPal. Saying if those things were not created, you would not have me right now on a podcast. And I see multiple different things. For example, these like services, right? Like right now, I'm on a Starlink site. They have it for yachts. You could put it on your yacht. You know what I'm saying? You could put it. Like it's. But the thing is that these things are happening so quickly that I don't think people have. The reason why I say it's going to be in our lifetime is because it's just a matter of time before people start to realize. And certain things will accelerate that. You know what I'm saying, for example, if Starlink had a financial incentive for example, like a franchise type of system, let's just say, generally speaking, you know what I'm saying, that would make people be like, oh, let me buy a bunch of this infrastructure and put it in hot places or put it in places that I think is necessary, et cetera. Like it becomes this thing where, and then also the cars thing, I'll show you guys, it's crazy, but yeah, we're talking about real futuristic stuff. But yes, my thing is, I do think money and a lot of things will be highly abundant within our lifetimes. And I'm almost positive of that. I'm almost positive of that. It's just because I just think that right now there are a lot of human relations that need to be resolved. And I think that's human relations. A lot of human, like that part, just human affairs. Those are the things that, I won't say stifle because it comes with a negative connotation, but they slow down the progress of where we're ultimately headed. But
I think what I'm really most impressed by, and we can move on after this, other than like the technology itself, because satellite internet is not like like I said, it's not new. None of this is new. This has been around for a long time.
Yes.
You could have always bought like a satellite and got internet. Like that's not anything new there. But what I'm most impressed by, I would say, is the SpaceX team and their ability to spin up like these side businesses in order to fund the broader mission that they're going after. Like spinning up space internet was not a core part of the plan of getting to Mars and like building reusable rockets. It's almost like they needed to create this business in order to generate more money in addition to the other areas that they've been able to go into. But like the actual business that SpaceX has been able to build from this satellite internet and the future businesses that they're going to be able to build from it, I think is remarkable. And I think that is going to further accelerate what they're going to do in terms of building rockets that get us to Mars, right? Because if they have a more sustainable business model, they can invest those profits and actually build a longer term sustainable company.
Hold on,
I think
this Elon Musk is about to have $2 trillion companies, bro.
Yes.
I kid you not.
Bro, and so I think that's worth noting, right? Like the internet and all of that is fine and dandy, but I think when you zoom out for a second and you look at what Elon is actually building from a business standpoint, I think it's remarkable. We're going to build reusable rockets, and now we need to build other businesses to do this shit. And those need to be big.
Space has become a platform.
But exactly. Right. Exactly. But also, I want to point out for the listeners something that, and Dre, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're essentially saying that, look, Starlink is a side business. Just think about that. That's a side business to the main company. It's a side business. You know what I'm saying? With extreme value. You know what I'm saying? And they've offered, it's crazy. Yeah.
Because me and Brylan was talking, and I was telling him that I was reading the Elon book. And I'm not going to talk too much about it, but he made it very clear that his mission, his objective, he made it abundantly clear to every single company. His objection is to get to Mars before he dies. Whether or not that happens or not, I don't know. He doesn't know. I don't even know if he believes it can happen, but it doesn't matter whether or not it can happen. But he believes it. He tells his whole team that. And so anything that SpaceX does that's outside of like literally the rocket, like outside of the rocket actually traveling to Mars, from Earth to Mars, is all a side business. It's all in service of literally trying to achieve that one mission, that one objective.